Nomad Podcast.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Nomad Podcast. And today I have Renato Schär joining me. Renato is the founder of SayNode. I hope I got that correct. We will talk about his way into Bitcoin, how he had the idea for SayNode, and also a smaller side project of his, and what he thinks of Bitcoin adoption globally. And yeah, I don't want to spoil too much, so let's get right to the episode. So hello and welcome back to another episode of Nomad Podcast. And today I have Renato joining me. So Renato, tell us your rabbit hole story. How did you get into Bitcoin, and what are your thoughts on Bitcoin?
Yeah, hello, Yanis. Thanks for having me. The Bitcoin rabbit hole goes deep, and for me, it started a while ago. It was, I guess, 2014, when I came across someone on Reddit that talked about Bitcoin and started to read into it while I was still in school. Was quite interested about the technical aspects of it because I always was quite interested in development and the way technology spreads. And then a while after, I came to the point where many Bitcoiners are, where they feel regret about what they did. Because later on in that year, I answered a comment from a exchange student from Switzerland that went to the US and was asking about, how do I transfer money over there? I don't have a US bank account yet. And I recommended, how about Bitcoin? Have a look at it without ever buying any of it. And if I just had bought some instead of just reading about it and even recommending it to other people, things would have gone very different. But yeah, that's how it is with many people. Then I forgot about the topic for a while. And back when I was at university in 2017, I started to really dig into it again. In 2018, instead of paying too much attention to some of the classes, I read all I could find about Bitcoin and to be honest, also other cryptocurrencies. That's the other mistake that many people do before they become the Bitcoin maxi that they are destined to be later on. And after some years of riding that rodeo, I realized that for me, it's Bitcoin is the main thing, and that's what I want to focus on. And here we are.
Here we are. Okay. So then, how did you then end up with the idea of making your own Bitcoin app, right? You have YZER. Is that you created YZER together with a other person? That's correct, right? So, how did you get to that essentially? What were your thoughts on that? So,
yeah, exactly. So, before I started YZER, I started another business after I had some jobs right after university that is called SayNode. It's a software development agency focused on mobile. And out of that, we worked for different clients. And what we realized is that the topic of Bitcoin is still poorly understood. There's always the same questions you get from normies. And when you try to introduce people, you start to see some patterns of questions that always show up again. And everyone in the Bitcoin space always talks about Bitcoin education as a key concept, which I fully agree with. However, as a techie, me and also my co-founders, we started to think about ways that might be a bit more scalable to bring this knowledge across. The way I was orange-pilled was through listening to 3-hour-long podcasts, reading blog posts that are quite in-depth, and doing a lot of that without having any central guiding structure and without exactly knowing what I'm going into. That's a very time-consuming way of getting orange-pilled. And the main idea we had with my co-founders about YZER is that we want to streamline the process. We want to make it more accessible to people that are not intrigued enough to listen to hour-long podcasts, but might like to dabble in it a bit in a gamified way. And also, we saw from the gaming space, for example, from Thunder Games, that Lightning as a reward can help increase the engagement with the games. And we thought, why not apply that exact same mechanism to education and learning about Bitcoin? So the main things we wanted to get out of building YZER is having it as a mobile app, so people can do it wherever they are when they are commuting, for example. Have it in a gamified short form way. So all classes in YZER take no longer than 2 to 3 minutes to read through and complete the quiz afterwards, and then having it gamified. So getting lightning rewards, also answering quizzes. We have a leaderboard in there. You can connect with friends to compete with each other. So these are the main things we wanted to achieve with building YZER. And that's what we've been doing for a bit over a year now since we've launched.
Cool. That's so cool. So is it basically like I wouldn't say a game app, but it's just like a reward app where you play certain stuff or you do certain stuff and you get rewards basically out of it. It's like a proof of work in a sense.
In a way, it's not a game per se, but it's a gamified education app. So, of course, the biggest comparison everyone always tries to do, and which of course heavily influenced us, is Duolingo. Learning languages this way is something that's very popular. A lot of people like to just get some basic knowledge in a way that's a bit more fun than reading through a textbook. And that's exactly what we wanted to aim for Bitcoin, to give them short lessons, let them take quizzes, earn some sats so they get first hands-on experience on Lightning. We also have classes in there about, okay, so you've gathered these sats. For you as a beginner, this might be quite weird. So what do you do with them? Then we show them these are some Lightning wallets you could use. That's how you set them up. That's how you create an invoice and withdraw them. Just trying to make it as short form and engaging as possible so we can get more people on board. That's the main goal.
That's cool, mate. So in a sense, then, is it just for Europe basically, or is it for, or do you still have problems with getting out of Europe? Because could I download it on my UK phone, or is it still just for Europeans or for Swiss people, for example?
It is not. The app is available globally to download. I think there's one country we had to exclude because there were a ton of spammers on there. But you can download the app anywhere you are. The content is in English. That's one of the main restrictions we have right now. But you can download it across the globe. Largest amount of users are from the US, actually. And then we have a lot of users from Nigeria and from India as well. So it is available across the globe. There are some things that are restricted. For example, the main thing we added recently to the app is that users can buy Bitcoin directly on Lightning through our partners at Pocket Bitcoin. Because what we realized is that the Bitcoin journey doesn't stop with just learning about it and not doing anything about it, because that's the mistake I made. The logical next step that most people want to take once they understand this thing a bit is that they want to get their hands on some small amounts, doesn't matter. But now we wanted to give them the option that they can buy through Pocket Bitcoin right in YZER. And this is restricted to people that can use a normal banking transfer. So a SEPA transfer inside of the US, this is not available. We're working on integrating Strike, so we could also serve US people there. But yeah, that's the only restriction. Other than that, the content is English. Everyone can use it.
Okay, that's cool. So just a question, because you use Pocket, have you also considered using Relay, or did that didn't work out? Why did you then use Pocket? Was it simplest or?
Yeah, we looked at different alternatives. We were in talks with DFX as well as Pocket. We like Pocket because they're Bitcoin only, and what they provide is not only an API where we would have to build additional screens in order to make it look nice and connect everything properly, but they have a fully fledged widget that we can just directly put in the app, and that takes the user by his hand and does everything for us.
Okay, that's cool. So you said you're just 1 year old, basically. YZER's just 1 year old, and what challenges have you faced at the beginning, or just over over that 1 year, where you have built the app, where you have people that downloaded the app? What were the challenges basically? What were there any? I mean, especially with the software? Was there some stuff with the software that might have been difficult? No, so
There were challenges. There always are when you try to do something worthwhile. Actually, we started with YZER 1.5 years ago, but we spent like half a year just building software, preparing content to get it up and running. We're a team of 5 co-founders, 2 technical, me and Werner, who founded SayNode together beforehand, and then 3 other people that do a range of things from finances to content to business development as well. And we are still all working on the project. The hardest part um, is that in order to grow, we need to have some sustainable financing going. And
mm,
while we have a lot of success in terms of user growth, we just reached 40K users that use the app so far, which is great because we didn't do any paid marketing. It's just really people like the content, they recommend their friends, and it grew like this quite organically, which is amazing, and it's always heartwarming to see the feedback. However, keeping this thing up and running, and especially keep developing it, we don't do all the coding ourselves. We have programmers that help us, that develop part of the software, and in order to keep that service going and growing, we need to finance this. And monetizing an education app is something quite tricky because people are accustomed that they can learn all the information for free, and they don't necessarily want to do the deep dive. Once they understand the basics, they're mostly happy and try to get into it, which is good. We want to keep the app free, and we want to keep the information available for everyone. But if we want to grow and improve the app, that's a challenge, of course, which is another reason why we started to offer Bitcoin sales inside of the app. There's a small fee from Pocket Bitcoin. At some point, we will add a low fee on our side as well. And then through buying Bitcoin, you'll help keep the basic education, the Bitcoin education, free for everyone else. That's the plan right now.
I mean, you guys need to be you need to have money. I mean, the software probably needs to be paid. You guys have to be paid, right? So I think that's the number one thing in the Bitcoin space that personally annoys me, that everyone wants it for free. Just because Bitcoin is a method that gives us freedom doesn't mean everything needs to be free like Bitcoin, right? So it is
But I get
it's
it.
a trick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky. I get it. Also in the funding space, fundraising from Bitcoiners is quite hard because they have the best money. They have something that grows and is so secure that it's really hard to convince them to invest in something else, which I understand because I also save my money in Bitcoin, obviously. But that makes it harder to like raise funds to try to build a company than people that are in the fiat mindset, because they are just chasing the yields still, whereas Bitcoiners have a longer term time preference, which is also what we had to learn. We won't get where we want to go with YZER as quickly as we initially imagined, and that's fine. We'll keep building this even if we wouldn't get any money. We just go at a slower pace. People have to be a bit more patient when it comes to rolling out new features and how quickly we can grow the app. But overall, we want to keep this information free. We want everyone to be onboarded through that. And I think it's a great addition to the different ways people learn about Bitcoin.
Mhm. So I want to focus more on Bitcoin education now. Basically, what you guys do is Bitcoin education. And it's great education. I mean, imagine if we all would download the app and we would learn about Bitcoin in a simple way, and even getting rewards for that, aka Sats or aka Bitcoin. Do you think that then, as a Bitcoin educator, then what you guys do is the most attractive way to get into Bitcoin, or are there other methods that you can get people into Bitcoin? I mean, for me, that's the most coolest way, using your phone and getting into Bitcoin. I mean, 50 years ago we didn't have that probably. Now we have it because we have technology. So, but do you think that your way is the best way if to get people into Bitcoin in a sense?
It's the best way for some people. There are many different ways, and there are many different pre-coiners. Everyone will have to learn about Bitcoin. It's just which is the best way for you. And there are a ton of pre-coiners that will want to learn in a way that's short form, where they can do it on the side, where they don't have to study it. I mean, they have to study it, but they don't have to study it in long stretches and dig into the depths of every topic, where they can choose their own learning path. And some people just want some guidance, like, it makes sense to start here, and that's the next lesson, and that's the next one, so they don't have to piece all the information pieces together themselves. So for some people, that's great. Then I love to listen to podcasts. That's how I learned. I also like to read books, but everyone has their own way to get into Bitcoin. And what I still think is lacking a bit is even shorter form content than what we do on YZER with a mobile app. Like, maybe I'm just not the right person to notice it, but people on TikTok, other kinds of social media that aren't like extreme Bitcoiners and try to convince them of every aspect that the traditional Bitcoin culture tries to promote. Like, you also have to be carnivore, and you have to be ultra anarchist libertarian to like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's just try to reach people where they're at in the channels that they're at. And for some of them, YZER will be the right solution, for others not. And that's totally fine. We just want to be a player that provides mobile education wherever they are in a short form way.
I guess what you just said, that this we have to be anarchistic. I always think it's funny. They want to be anarchists, but yet they're still, some of them still work in the old fiat system, which is probably gonna be replaced by a new system, aka Bitcoin maybe. But those politics in the space. I mean, politics and finance is never a good thing. I mean, we all have seen what it has done. I mean, when politicians went into the finance sector, it was never good. So, I mean, 1971, they abolished the gold standard, which was because of politicians getting into finance. I mean, so, I mean,
Yeah.
the thing with politics in Bitcoin is it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Bitcoin and politics, it shouldn't mix, and it doesn't. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because I think that was a great input of yours. So,
absolutely. And I'm not about to dunk on the anarchists or libertarians. I totally subscribe to most of their ideas, and I really like the way Bitcoin works and the way that it takes power away from the state. I absolutely love it. I'm just saying that might not be the gateway for most of the normies to get started with it. And it might even shy them away if we're like shoving it down their throat too aggressively at the beginning. So, I mean, for most people, number go up is the way they get into it. Initially, they come for the money, they stay for the philosophy and for the changes that it brings about. So they are probably curious about the technology, why Bitcoin is something that is here to stay, why it's better money. They come and they learn about that, and then later on they'll see all the other aspects for it. So Bitcoin and politics, I think that's phenomenon from a transitionary period. I mean, I still believe that it's valuable to try to work with the political process and try to affect change in the fiat system as we have it right now. You just have to be aware that it's hard, slow. It won't bring the changes you want to see immediately, but it might make the transition a bit less painful. Yeah, you can build a parallel society completely anarchistic with your Bitcoin. It's just that you might make your life quite a bit harder or the state can make your life quite a bit harder if you don't try to at least show the benefits that Bitcoin has for everyone.
okay. I mean, just because I want to just quick. I mean, I listened to a talk once from Eric Kaysen. I think you know him. Eric Kaysen. He's like an American dude.
Yep.
He wrote the book
Crypto Sovereignty.
So he said the only way to end our system as we know it is anarchy. And I then talked to him. I mean, but is it really anarchy? Is really anarchy the best way out of it? Because some people might be disgusted by anarchy. I mean, look where anarchy look at history back. I mean, French Revolution, where did anarchy lead to? It led to a next dictatorship, aka Napoleon Bonaparte. I mean, the French people beheaded their kings and queens, and they had the worst thing came after that. It was Napoleon. So, in a sense, anarchy is not maybe the. I mean, I agree with people who think that it's the way out of them for them out of the system, but it might also, as you said, push people away because they think, oh no, it's not my thing, right? So, but in a sense, then wouldn't that also be the perfect situation to show them Bitcoin? Because if people don't like anarchy, then they will like free money, right? So, in a sense,
Yeah, I think it's tricky. There's a nuanced conversation to be had here, but the thing is that people like to think in categories, and when you hear anarchist, you think of one set of ideas, where Eric Kaysen probably thinks of something quite differently. It's just you have to be precise with your definitions if you want to make sure that you're on the same page. And I'm by no means an expert in that. All I'm saying is that, and that's probably not the definition of anarchy he has, is that there will always be some governing structure or some commonly agreed rule set that people abide by, some hierarchy. And I don't think that's necessarily at odds with an anarchistic mindset, but probably that's what leads to a lot of conflict in ideas regarding that. But I'm, as I said, totally not an expert on that.
yeah, politics is not, it's not my thing either. So, sorry for getting on a side topic here because I thought it was interesting, mate. But, so let's go back to education actually then, and to your to YZER. So YZER is basically the first thing or one of its kind that, I mean, I wouldn't say, I mean, other apps also give you sats and right, but you guys, what you did, it's basically the first thing that someone has ever done like that. I mean, having like a second Duolingo app basically that gives you sats, that gives you Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Do you think then that when you want to expand or want to get bigger, do you think that you maybe create a second app? YZER 2.0, for example, or a better version of the first YZER app that you have now? Or is there, are there
I mean,
talks of
there's a lot of stuff we can do. So we are not the first. There have been attempts of like having mobile apps
okay.
with Bitcoin as a subject, but also the combination, the way we do it is quite unique. So we give the SAT rewards. We have short form content. We are mobile. We are gamified in that way. So that's quite unique. There have been other apps that try to do something similar in the crypto space with some tokens that led to the obvious and usual problems with them not having any real value over the long run. And because of that, I think we're in a good position. We're in a good position. Right now, we're focusing on YZER itself because there's still a ton of stuff we want to do. Our roadmap and the backlog of stuff we want to do is truly huge. It's just about when do we get to it, and how much time can we spend on it realistically. So there's still so much improvement we can do inside of the app that we're not thinking about the second app right now. What we're also doing is not in terms of app development, but just business development partnerships. We work with My Primer, so at some point they will feature us in their school books and have a QR code, so we can work with both a book and a mobile app to learn more about Bitcoin and things like that. There are some authors that we are working with that want to have their books as short form content on YZER. So there's a lot we can do. Obviously, I believe that in the long run, the whole education system, we see a trend in gamified learning, in short form learning, bite-sized learning. And I believe that Bitcoin, as long as we still see it as something else than just money, or most people see it as something else than just money, you can use it as a reward that people are quite interested of getting. Once we are on a Bitcoin standard, I don't think the way to motivate people to learn is through monetary incentives. But while we're still on that journey, I think it's a cool way to let people learn more.
So that's cool. So I want to get to the end soon. Just I have two more questions, then we're probably gonna end this episode. But what are your goals then for next year with YZER? Do you want to get more downloads? Do you want to get more sponsors in a sense, or a better, I mean, a alternative to Pocket, for example? What are your thoughts basically on and goals on YZER then for next year?
Yeah, there's a lot we want to do. So first of all, we want to cross the language barrier. We are working on a system now that allows us to translate the app into all kinds of languages. Luckily, in the last year, there were some AI tools that came on the market that should get us like 90% there for the content, so we don't have to hire dozens of translators or rely on community feedback alone. So getting the app out in different languages is certainly one big thing, because I think it just is a huge advantage if it's in your local language that you learn about Bitcoin. I still have a ton of people I would like to orange pill in Switzerland with with YZER that just don't speak English well enough that they trust in themselves to understand the content. Even though we specifically designed the classes to be in an entry level English, so also people that learn it as a second language can understand it. That's one thing. And then on the other side, adding additional fiat on-ramps next to Pocket is certainly on our radar, especially in the US, because we can't serve that market right now. And also adding more options there. Right now, you can only buy and send it to your Lightning wallet. At some point, we want to have regular buys that we enable. We want to offer more options to the people, because that's also a nice way for us to sustain the app as it is. And then, of course, just grow the user base. Once Bitcoin is roaring again, we will have a lot of newbies coming in, and we want them to get some quality information. And by that point, we want to have an app that is truly enjoyable and hooks them, so they want to learn more. So also adding more gamification benefits like level up rewards and maybe customizing your avatar in some ways. There's a ton of stuff we can do.
So one more question before we're gonna end this episode then. Uh, will you be maybe attending the next Swiss Bitcoin conference as YZER, as the company, as the app, or maybe not? Will you also, I mean, will you be, basically what I'm asking you, will you be at conferences presenting your work, or is that still ongoing, or do you want that once you're completely finished with the app, or will you just basically attend conferences as YZER?
Yeah. We'll probably never finish the app. There's always something to do, but we will attend conferences, and we have attended conferences. I mean, that's the reason why I was in Madeira as well on a panel. It was at the same time as Michael Saylor's talk, so I totally understand why you would listen to Michael. I listened to the talk afterwards; it was just amazing. Maybe next time we can do it in front of a bit more people. Then we were at the Swiss Bitcoin conference, or my co-founder Werner was, and held a panel about Bitcoin education at the very end of the conference on Sunday. And yeah, we try to, also just for our own benefit, because we like to go to these conferences, we try to go wherever we can. These speaker slots are usually connected with a bit of money that you have to pay for them if you want to be a sponsor and have a extended talk. So that's always a trade-off we have to do about, do we develop a feature more or not, or do we spend more to get in front of people? That's always a trade-off. But whatever we can do, we try to present the work because we think it's valuable.
Okay, cool. So that was it for me. Thank you for joining me today, Renato. It was a pleasure. Do you have social media, first of all, as a last question then? Because it would be amazing if you could share your social media with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Yanis. Well, YZER has social media. I try to stay away from it as much as I can. It's I think it's not the best
Okay.
use of my time. I'm personally on LinkedIn, Renato Schär. That's where you probably get ahead of me most. I'm also on Noster, but they're with a lower profile. And then for YZER, it's at GetWyzer, get_Wyzer on Twitter. That's where we like to have people most. And download the app. That's the best way.
Okay, so just Twitter and LinkedIn, basically. Okay, cool. So yeah, people, that was another episode of Noma Podcast. I enjoyed it. It was nice to have you, Renato. Finally, I mean, we have been texting for like a few months or a month basically. For hey, when we're gonna record the episode? Oh yeah, let's do it then. Oh no, I can't do that. So that was a journey. But yeah, thank you for joining me, Renato. It was a pleasure having you. And yeah, thank you, people. And Renato, hopefully see you soon at the next conference. So see you soon. Bye bye.
Nomad Podcast.